So if you're just joining me, this is Lawton Chiles. Now, if you can see and hear me, let me know in the comments below. Been talking to some different people recently about a few dangerous trends. Somebody messaged me today, and we were talking, and he asked me, he was selling some continuity, and one of the things we talked back and forth, and I wasn't totally clear on his situation, so I don't want to misstate what you were doing if you're watching this. Um, but from what I could gather, what was happening was he was trying to do a free trial into a continuity, which is works well. But the problem with that is if that is from everything I can understand from what he was messaging me, this was a front end offer. And so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is he was selling this as a first touch, and continuity is really hard to sell as a number one. Like where people pay you month to month. Number two, the second thing is I think he was selling it at the beginning. So if you're just joining us here, let me know if this sound is distorted to you. Let's see who's on here. Oh, Albert's on. What's up, man? So this guy that we talked to this morning was selling continuity. So that's where people pay you a monthly fee over and over again, right? And that's the hardest thing to sell. I mean, out of all the things I've ever sold, continuity was only ever sold successfully on what we call the back end, which is what happens after they buy the initial product. And it's usually not in the same funnel. So what happens is people try to sell continuity, and what happens is I'm just checking to make sure this is live. Okay, yeah. If you guys can see and hear me okay, let me know. I think that everything is okay. The reason I'm wearing these headphones is just because I've set all this up, and I want to make sure that I can hear myself and things like that. And it sounds cool, because I sound huge in my own head, so that's always nice. Yeah. Okay, this sounds good. Sweet. Okay, so we were talking with this guy, and he was selling continuity. Okay, and number one, that's the hardest thing to sell, where basically people pay you month to month. It's the hardest thing to sell because number one, the payments don't stop, and number two, there's a certain way that I believe that you should sell it as effectively as possible, and that way is through putting it into a different funnel. So if I was selling something that had like a low ticket offer or a free trial, and then it went into like, hey, you should try this out, but then you should join the continuity, that's cool, but that's still the first thing that they see from me. What I would do is I would have a different offer that I would put them in, either an information product, like a one-time fee, and put them through an Ascension series where they're buying multiple things at once. And then after they've given me $300 or $400, then I would invite them to take a free trial, or not even a free trial, but really just bribe them with a high-pitched product. Okay. Hey, Anna, how you doing? Thanks, Albert. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it does sound really good. So I've got a new Universal Audio sort of sound deck thing here, where it's a bunch of, you can plug the mics into it. It's an audio interface, and it has a compressor on it now and a limiter, and so it's going to sound pretty good. But I say all that to say, again, we were starting all these with just an iPhone and the camera, right? So this is just basically so, number one, I can take this audio and have a really good podcast signal so it doesn't sound just like an iPhone in a big room. And again, as you can see behind me, none of this room is treated. So we're getting all kinds of reflections and stuff bouncing, and it doesn't sound amazing, but it's better than nothing. So back to what I was talking about the continuity. Number one, asking people for money over and over again each month is very difficult to sell, especially if you're saying like, hey, you don't know me, I'd like to give you a free trial to my membership program, and if after a while you like it, you might want to stay after 7 days or 10 days or whatever. That works for a very, very small percentage of people. It's much better to put an offer in front of that, where it's an info product for like $300 or $400, and then after they buy that, then you come out a week later and say, hey, I have a product for $3,000 or $2,000. I'd like to give it to you for free, if you join the, Lawton Chiles inner circle. That's a much better way to do it because number one, they get indoctrinated to you. Number two, they, they're already buying something from you at a higher level. And then number three, say it with me, you could follow back up with them in different ways, like we do contingency plans. And if you would like my help setting this up with you, something like that, where you're trying to figure out like how do I actually start off my funnel or my sales process the right way for maximum conversions, I invite you to go to chilescall.com. That's chilescall.com. And if somebody would put that in the comments for me, that'd be great. It's www.chilescall.com. And you can go there and you'll be asked to fill out an application, because the only people that I can help are people that have forward momentum. That means you've got to be making sales already, and you've got to have something that people want, and that's pretty much it, right? But if you've like never sold anything before, or you're just learning about online marketing, I am not in a position where I can really help you. But if you do need, that type of assistance, then I would look at some other people like the GaryHalbertLetter.com, digitalmarketer.com, copychief.com, and that kind of thing. But if you would like my help setting this up for you, where we can simplify this and where you're not trying to just spend a whole bunch of money to get a free trial or spend a whole bunch of money to get people to buy continuity the first time. So, because what happens is this guy will probably just, if somebody didn't come along and say, hey, there's a better way to do it, he would probably just keep spending the cash to make that free trial convert into long-term customers, which usually does not work because of the fact of who you're targeting. You never be afraid to charge high prices up front, number one. And number two, it's like, because everyone, we all, and this has happened to me, we all kind of fall for this thing where we want to get a bunch of volume in. So let's have 1,000 people at $100 a month, right? So it's super low ticket, but then we'll have a bunch of people do it, sort of like the Netflix model. But those people are pretty easy to satisfy because whoever is running Netflix doesn't have to create all the content. They're just licensing the content. But once you get into a continuity model where you have to come in and create new content every month, and you're dealing with like the lowest common denominator person where they just don't care about, you want a better buyer, basically. You want to engineer something for $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, because you'll work just as hard to get that $100 a month buyer as you will to get that $5,000 a month buyer. And it's much easier to sell, you'll find that once for the right person, buying that higher ticket thing is really what they want. You could easily sell something for $5,000 or $3,000 versus $100. You might as well sell it for $5,000, if it's worth that and if the market bears that out. And if you would like my help positioning this stuff, because it is sort of complicated, you do have to take away the complexity involved in this and simplify it. Because I told my friend yesterday, some people have been actually coming up to me in church and saying like, oh, I see your live videos. And I'm like, that's hilarious. What you're doing is you're trying to make your offer so irresistible that you don't have a marketing problem and you don't have a selling problem, because your market is in such pain and you're able to alleviate that pain, that your program or what you're giving them is almost doesn't really matter as much, because you've done such a good job saying, I know you're in pain and I can help you to alleviate that pain or lessen that pain through my program, right? But the program is almost secondary because of the fact that you've articulated what they want in such a way that if you told them to stand on their head, they would do it. And so that's why once you spend an hour or two figuring out what your irresistible offer is and how to really get clear on what's the big problem that you solve for your market, or maybe you can't solve it entirely, but you can alleviate it. So like if you're trying to diet and, okay, people hate eating vegetables and you can't, let's say in your product, you can't, or your market, you can't say, hey, Lawton, you can stop eating vegetables, right? And that would be an amazing offer. But what if you could say you only have to eat 3 vegetables for this to work? So again, you're alleviating or you're lessening the pain. And so, and how do we do this with just the 3 vegetables? Well, it happens to be inside of my Vegetable Seekers 3000. But the more that you identify what the big problem is, you see how your solution to that becomes very, very, very easy to sell. And again, if you would like my help doing this, go to chilescall.com and you will see an application that's 7 or 8 questions just to make sure that I can help you to the best of my ability. It's chilescall.com. That's CHILES. So you'll go to my website there. You'll see a photo of me. You'll be asked to fill out an application just to make sure that I can help you. And who is this for? Well, this is for people whose sales have slowed down. This is for people who are selling, anything above $100. This is for people who are already making sales and products and services, but need help making higher sales more often without dealing with a 90-part funnel or 70 emails or anything like that. And if you don't want to do sales calls, you don't have to. And if you don't want to do a webinar, you don't have to. Now, I believe in those things, but you don't have to have them for maximum conversions. Okay, so again, chilescall.com. If you are watching the replay and you have questions about this, let me know. But this is going to help you go a lot faster, a lot farther, a lot quicker and all that stuff. So I've actually got to hop on another call here. But if you go to www.chilescall.com, I'll say it in my golf voice. He's leading to the microphone and saying this again. It's www.chilescall.com, like Chiles. Nobody can pronounce my last name or my first name, but it is Chiles. So anyway, I hope you're doing awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will be talking soon. Appreciate it, and take care. Again, www.chilescall.com. Bye-bye.